My name's Chris, and I'm here with Bryan John Appleby. He's going to be playing a Mill Street session here at Project Line offices. And, instead of doing a big interview today and being really serious, we thought we'd just have a conversation with Bryan. So, Bryan, let's start out with what's going on in your world. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Completely hiding under a rock for the last year. The last tour we did was in the fall of 2012. It was a big one with Head and the Heart, and then on the coattails of that, there was all this enthusiasm. I was feeling pretty good. Things couldn't have been going better. I got way overly ambitious and like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna write a bunch of songs real quick in like a month and then put out another record and then bigger, better, faster, stronger, higher, do it all. Oh, here we go. And as it turned out, it's now been a year and a half. I have about 4 songs to show for that year and a half.
Do you like any of them?
I really like the 4 that I have signed off on. And this is kind of my thing. Like I think I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really skilled songwriters and been able to observe them. Plus, listen to music. So, whatever. What I'm saying is that I can acutely observe well-crafted lyrics and well-crafted songs, and then when I try to follow the examples set for me by others, I find it a very laborious and frustrating process because the standard's been set way up here,
right? And
I know if it's shitty, I know if it's way down here, so I can't just sign off on that. And so what that means is that it takes me 6 months to write a song that I feel like is up here. The good news is that when it's finally done, I feel happy with it.
I remember when you were saying earlier, we were talking kind of before the interview about how you've been spending a lot of time just kind of getting back to where you were before all of this kind of launch happened.
Right.
And I guess, what is it about, is it just the pressure that kind of makes you kind of almost clam up or not want to be as passionate about writing? Or like, what is it that makes you maybe not get into the zone of when you're trying to write a song?
Yeah, it's tricky because it's not, I guess the best way I've thought about it is that from age 13, I don't know when you started playing music. If it reflects my experience, I got a drum set when I was 13, and then the next 10 years, anytime I was playing that drum set, the only reason I would be playing was to explore, to enjoy it, to listen to a song by this punk band or this rock band or this emo band or whatever I was into at the time, and learn what's going on. Anyway, there was a joy in the exploration of music that is the reason I kept doing it. It propelled my relationship to music, and that carried me. That carried me this far. Or what I mean is that the reason I wrote the first batch of songs for the first record was because of that exploration, that sort of musical curiosity of, I'm listening to, I just got really into Bob Dylan. I'm going to try to write a guitar part that sounds like him. Oh, I just really got into this. I'm because it's just fun.
I feel like that happens a lot for me anyway. I get inspired by another artist and then I want to go and write. And maybe it doesn't always sound like Bob Dylan when it's done.
Yeah, it goes through
it sounds
your
like
filter.
But what are you listening to right now? What are you digging?
Right now I'm listening to, I guess immediately this week I've been listening to a ton of Scott Walker. He's like a crooner from the 60s and 70s.
I love that word, crooner.
Yeah, you'd be on a cruise, playing shuffleboard with a green visor, and Scott Walker would be playing, holding his mic like this. But he does some really creepy stuff too in the music. It's sort of, I don't know. That I really this year I've been listening to a lot of Harry Nilsson.
Oh yeah, you were the one that actually turned me on to him, and then Jonathan Mormon was telling me about it.
Yeah,
man.
his voice, yeah, I mean...
There's some killer songs by that guy.
Right.
I just started digging into it after you told me about it. What is it about his stuff that you like so much, you think? Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. No, it's... I think that, he displays a sort of a level of craftsmanship that I can't find in myself or with my peers at this point. So that's something that, like, I guess, folks that are at our level of the game, we're still sort of honing our craft and trying to just get our fingers to do things and get our voices to do things and get our lyrics to say the things that we feel. We're still hammering it out, and luckily we're being supported in that by the people who want to see our process. We have fans that are supporting that endeavor of honing the craft. But at some point, you want to see or listen to someone who you feel like to some degree has honed the craft to a fine point. Like they've. Like I feel like at least
10,000 hours.
Like I feel like I'm still sharpening my blade, and then I listen to someone like Harry Nilsson, whose voice can just do whatever he wants. And lyrically, I don't know that I love his stuff, but the thing with his voice and these songs, I feel like it's just a fine edge to the blade that he's honed, and or like Randy Newman, even more so. Like like his voice is not the one that I would point to as being sort of virtuoso's voice, but his lyrics, his the sort of Tin Pan Alley piano progressions he's doing, like it's almost, and again, like going back to this idea of being curious, like they're doing things that I don't know how to do, and I find that very, very appealing and stimulating as an artist. So really, I've spent the last year trying to figure out what they're doing, and I think it's filtering into my songs. Obviously, like, it'd take another 10 years to get really good at ragtime piano in the way that like Randy Newman is.
Right.
But I think slowly those sort of elements are working their way into my music, and it's fun to see. It's moving away from the, like I said, maybe 6-7 years ago, it was more of the folk balladeer that I was finding a lot of inspiration from, and my curiosity was driven that way. And now it's more towards this like Tin Pan Alley, jazz from the 40s and 50s, rock and roll right before it became rock and roll, like on the eve of that, and old Disney soundtracks. Like those are the things that I'm looking at, the chord progressions, I'm looking at what's going on, and there's a sophistication that I'm moving towards that I haven't quite gotten down, but I find very appealing. So
sweet. Yeah,
I've kind of just been in my house, like trying to figure out what these people are doing, like in this totally different.
Just kind of studying, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm in school a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we last talked, it sounds like you're kind of working on the new record and just taking it whatever pace you want, and no show scheduled until the record's ready, right?
Pretty much, yeah. No big tours, so the band is in hiatus effectively. We did a Christmas show and it was really fun, and it's not like I'm staunchly opposed to any opportunity that comes our way.
Yeah, you just did that show at the Sunset.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly. So, but that's a little bit more indicative of what I'm up to. Like I'll probably do a solo show once a month, whether it's in Seattle or just regionally. I've toyed with the idea of maybe doing just like a solo West Coast tour. I bet this year that would happen. But really, the big thing is that I just kind of want to hammer out these songs and then put a record together and then kind of go from there. So
sweet.
And not put the cart before the horse with it, because I've done that in the past where I lay out a whole year's worth of plans, but if I don't hit this first deadline, then everything collapses.
Like this domino effect after that.
Exactly. So just leaving it at that. I'm not going to promise anyone anything. Music is coming. I am pleased with the music that is coming, and I'm excited about when that actually happens. But I mean, roughly the goal is that by the end of this year, I will have a record. That's kind of what I'm leaving it at. So,
well, I mean, what would you? We'll have like one more question.
Yeah,
I think we should probably cut it off because I tend to just want to keep asking questions.
No, that's fine.
What would you offer for other artists in Seattle specifically that are trying to become better musicians, become the next Bryan John Appleby? What do you recommend?
Yeah.
It's pretty open-ended, so you can go a lot of different ways with it.
I mean, I guess running with the theme that we've already crossed. Like I was at I think maybe 5 years ago, I went and saw Bazan play at. He did some in studio at I forget which record store it was at, and I've liked him since I was 12, and I still totally love him. Like he's one of the few artists that have carried through, and I look up to him, and I've learned a lot from him. But I was talking with the guy who was playing guitar with him after the show, and I was sort of giddy and like, oh my god, I'm talking to David Hassan's band. This is crazy. And I had just moved to Seattle at the time, and it was just exciting. Anyway, at that point I had written like a few songs, and I was getting ready to put out that first EP that I put out maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was, just babbling on and on about, how awesome music is in Seattle, and how awesome he is, and how awesome David Bazan is, how awesome it all is. And at some point, like, he kind of like got that I was this guy who was trying to write songs in Seattle, and I think he picked up on my naivety, and I forget how it all transpired exactly, but at some point he offered me like this simple line of advice, which I've taken way too long to get to, but it was that, like, just hone your craft. Like, I think within 5 minutes time he said that phrase, hone your craft, maybe 7 times, and like after that, that became my pursuit with music. Like, not that I would become a household name, not even that I would be able to make a living off of this, but that if I truly have this relationship to music where I'm curious, where I'm trying to engage with, the theory of it and the tradition of it gets passed on and on and on. This sort of running conversation of music where people take it, meddle with it, and then pass it on to the people after them, and like it kind of sounded, it was that idea of just hone your craft. Like, if you want to be part of this conversation, if you want to be part of this community of, or this tradition of passing music along and having a voice within that conversation, just hone your craft, nothing else. Don't like be distracted with all the, shiny objects that fly by and all the, just any number of things that can take the focus away from that, like the image, the branding, the like making enough money on this thing,
new videos, getting a website up and running.
Exactly,
trying to find a booking agent,
especially with social media more than ever.
Sure.
It's like you can spend so much energy on everything except the thing that is the thing, which is like just practice a scale for an hour a day, like learn a song, like spend a whole day, and don't fucking watch the YouTube video. Use your ear, focus it at the speaker. Think about what note they're playing, fiddle on the piano until you find the note, and then go to the second note, and like let it like seep into you, and just
there's no shortcuts.
Just hone your craft, like that's it, and leave it at that. And if you get good at that, then some other stuff might come if you're lucky.
Everybody I talk to that says that same thing always says it took me way too long to get there. Like I'm the same exact way. I've been like preaching that, to every new songwriter I meet, like just practice, like hone your craft, like learn how to perform, play a lot of open mics, like
totally
do those kinds of things, because it makes a huge difference. We're both part of that Connor Byrne playing the open mic every week for a while, and I think it made a huge difference. Like you learn a lot from other artists.
Absolutely.
So Bryan John Appleby, folks, check out Fire on the Vine on Bandcamp, on iTunes. It's all over the place. It's an amazing album. My favorite song is Words of the Revelator.
That's right.
That
is your favorite song.
That is my favorite song. It's definitely my favorite song. Thanks, Bryan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thanks, guys.